Welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast with me, Venus O'Hara. An orgasmic lifestyle is about reaching a climax in all areas of life, not just in the bedroom. Here, we dive deep with expert guests on topics like nutrition, spirituality, personal development, sexuality, and much more. Together, we'll explore lifestyle lessons to help you lead a life that's fulfilling, joyful, and unapologetically orgasmic. I'm your guide, Venus O'Hara. Welcome to episode 139 of the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast with Venus O'Hara. In this first quarter moon episode, we discuss abundance and prosperity. We speak with Debbie Dobbins, author of Your Inner Billionaire, a sacred doorway to soul-aligned wealth. I also review the book, How Do You Like It? A Guide for Getting What You Want in Bed, by Dr. Tara, who is a future podcast guest, and she's also known as the Internet's resident sexpert. And the episode ends with a guided meditation with affirmations for living a billionaire lifestyle. But first of all, let me talk to you about my experience with abundance and prosperity. If you've been following this podcast, you'll know that I already reviewed the book Your Inner Billionaire by Debbie Dobbins a few episodes back. In the episode with Pushkar Anand, which was about manifesting your infinite riches. So it's a very aligned topic, the topic of abundance and prosperity. And I was really looking forward to speaking to Debbie Dobbins because her guest pitch was one of the most original and inspiring ones that I've ever received on here. And I get a lot of requests for potential guests on this podcast. And it says, what if your greatest financial challenges were actually doorways to discovering your innate prosperity? Debbie Dobbins' journey from crack addict and critical cancer patient to globally acclaimed international prosperity consciousness speaker and teacher reveals how to burnish the inner billionaire that lives within you for real sustainable wealth. So exciting. And I read the book, which was fantastic. And as you know, I've reviewed many books on wealth. I have a whole shelf with the classic books that everyone reads, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, which I've talked about so often on here, and many other classics. But this one was very different. It's more about the feeling of wealth and how wealth obviously is not just about money. It encompasses many different areas of your life. But it was so super inspiring and it was gripping as well. So it was a mix of personal stories and then tips with journaling prompts. So I devoured that book and I was even more excited about speaking with Debbie Dobbins. And it really just did not disappoint. It was fantastic. And I wanted to talk about a little bit about abundance and prosperity because I had the opportunity to actually have an abundance coaching session with her. And it really blew my mind because recently I've been exploring many different healing and therapy sessions in many different modalities. And I think the one that I've did with Debbie Dobbins has got to be something that had the fastest and most profound impact. So I think when we invest in our growth, we want impact, we want results, we want to see lasting change in our lifestyles. And it was so interesting, this emphasis on the feeling. And there was kind of lots of embodiment exercises. So it was a very vulnerable experience. It wasn't about the practicalities of money as such, but just that same day, I felt this inner shift. It was really profound. And I'm trying to kind of really embody wealth as a feeling in my body, embodiment in my body, obviously. And then the things that I was kind of aiming for started to manifest quite quickly. And it was really interesting to kind of make this shift because at the end of the day, it's about deciding what thoughts you want to have and how you want to feel and how you want to feel in your body. How does wealth feel in your body? For me, it feels like an expansive feeling, a feeling of comfort where those worries disappear. But sometimes it's good to be guided by those feelings of worry as well, to try and, to know yourself and know what feels good and what feels bad, and know what you need more of in order to create that feeling of abundance and comfort. I think a lot of the times, money, when you say you're into the topic of money, it can be very often misunderstood. It can mean that you are materialistic, or that you're ruthless, or that you're going to exploit people just to get where you are, where you want to be. But I don't agree with that at all. I think it's about having choice in your life and having that freedom and flexibility to create the life that you want to create. And sometimes I wonder if we don't desire things because we don't think that they are available to us. That's something that I think of a lot. And I think for me, I really do value simplicity in my life. So if I'm thinking about scaling and growing, I'm not thinking about having, let's say, an empire with employees. That sounds very complicated. I would rather kind of outsource to other freelancers and keep things as flexible as possible, and and use my work to kind of buy time, if that makes any sense, to free up my time rather than to fill it up with different things. But at the same time, one thing that I did say to Debbie when I was speaking to her was, I really do love the feeling of waking up and having lots of emails from clients and prospective potential collaborations, because it makes me feel seen. It makes me feel guided, because on my own journey, I started a sex blog in 2009, and it was a really kind of big gamble, a personal gamble to make your passion your profession. And there's a kind of there are many challenges involved in that. Sometimes you can enjoy the passion less, and sometimes people don't take you seriously. There's many different obstacles, but of course, I wouldn't change it for the world. It's very, very rewarding. So to actually have, a whole list of emails asking me for things and, requesting collaborations, etc., on something that I've created from nothing is so gratifying. And I feel it makes me feel guided. I think it's nice in life to feel guided, especially when you are a freelancer, because sometimes you can feel quite lost, especially if there are no role models that you can look to who actually have or have carved the path that you are trying to follow yourself. So there are many moments of feeling lost, etc. But having those kind of that guidance from other people, collaborators, is super cool. And I think it's a bit different. I think we spoke about this in the last episode with Nadina Tyropolis. The difference, when you are working in a corporate job and having like 50 emails can be very overwhelming and not so inspiring. But when it's working for yourself, it's a very, very different sensation. And ever since my my session with Debbie a couple of weeks ago, I'm getting more and more emails from people offering me things and potential calls to see if we can collaborate. And it seems very, very exciting now. So I'm starting to embody this greater feeling of abundance. And when we talk about being a billionaire here, in this sense, it's not so much about what's in your bank account. It's about having abundance all around in your life and having a spiritually and mentally, physically fulfilled life. And yes, that's about it really. I'm going to leave it there for now and share with you the interview with Debbie Dobbins. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. What if your pleasure was the portal to your power? My new book, Orgasmic Manifestation, Transform Your Life with Your Sexual Energy by Venus O'Hara, is your guide to using desire as a tool for abundance, purpose, and deep self-connection. Your orgasm is more than a moment. It's a message, a manifestation, a mirror of your limitless potential. Available now on Amazon. Link in the show notes below. Now it's time for this episode's interview. We speak with Debbie Dobbins, author of Your Inner Billionaire, A Sacred Doorway to Soul-Aligned Wealth. Debbie Dobbins, welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast. It's a real pleasure to have you here. For those who are unfamiliar with your work, could you tell us what you do?
Oh, well, I'm an abundance coach. So basically what that means is I help people move through their money blocks
Uh-huh.
to get to that place of realizing that they all have an inner billionaire. And that's why the title of the book is Your Inner Billionaire. We all have that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just our own blocks, it's our own stories, it's our own emotions that we've created in our lifetime to repel all of the good that we all inherent as being part of this planet. So I'm just excited to share with your audience about what that looks like because we all have it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just we're pushing it away in so many different aspects of our life. And it isn't just about money.
Mm-hmm.
Abundance is that holistic approach of your entire life, your abundance of love and relationships and money and expectations and just everything. So I'm excited to walk this journey with you.
I'm super excited to have you here because I receive, I'm very fortunate and I don't have to look for guests. They all come to me. I've been doing this podcast for 4 years and I have amazing PR agencies in the US who send me incredible guests. I have to say your pitch was one of the most interesting I've ever read. And I've read, I've interviewed a lot of best-selling, New York Times best-selling authors, thought leaders. But just in a nutshell, it was, would you like to tell us your elevator pitch of your profile? Because it was just fascinating. So,
Uh, Gosh, I have been through several gauntlets,
mm,
if you will. And I think that that's really what gives us the fire
mm,
to elevate ourselves in life. I've not really ever met anybody that just had this sensational life without going through fire. You know, the whole
mm,
idea that diamonds are made from the pressure that we experience in life. And I believe that we all come in with our own missions.
mm,
So, how we're going to unfold that, the experience looks different for everybody else, for everybody. And I decided that I wanted to have as many as I could possibly have. So I've been through drug addiction, I've been through massive debt, and I've been through a cancer diagnosis and thrived through all of it, not necessarily in those moments, but as a result of those, and came through all of these different experiences with the understanding that they were all opportunities for me. So
mm,
I think one of the most important things that I can ever share with anybody is that no matter what you're going through, that it's working in your favor, that we all choose before we come into this experience called planet Earth, that we are going to have these experiences and we can look at them one of two ways. These are for my benefit. This is where I learn. This is where I grow. This is my experience that allows me to be a teacher on the planet in whatever way we do that. Or we can look at it as pour me, pour me, pour me another drink. And the
mm,
fact is that just because we're going through experiences and they feel really uncomfortable in the moment, there's chapters and verses of people going through all of these traumatic experiences over and over and over that rise above it. And that is really, truly, I believe that's what my mission has been, is to show that no matter what it is, that you can move through it and be whole and greater than you were before the experience. So, as I share in the book, I've been through all of those little experiences, and it's brought me to be this 70-year-old woman
mm,
who just I'm here to serve as a guide for
mm,
anybody that says I can't do it, it's too hard, this is not for me, this life experience, and that we absolutely are the arbiters of our own experience, that we are the people that are the writer, producer, and director of our lives. And if we look at it from that perspective, then we cannot point the finger someplace else. And that is the biggest message that I've ever had in my whole life experience as being a teacher and a trainer, is that we are creating this experience that we call life, and it comes from this vibratory energy that we all have inside of us. I call it a frequency, that as long as our frequency is projecting out there into the world, we will see exactly that. And if it's something that we don't like, then it's simply just changing the frequency instead of changing our outside experience. So
amazing.
that's sort of
I
it in
loved
a
your
nutshell.
book. I have a whole shelf
Yeah.
of money books. So I think you listed, oh, you know the books. I have them all.
Yeah.
All the money
I
books.
think I have a lot too.
And the book that changed my life was Think and Grow Rich, actually. So that's something that's amazing. And it's so but I found I love reading money books that have something different in them. And what yours
Yeah.
had was the personal story is gripping, but you can actually make it relevant to everyone's experience. And I want to go through it again just for all the kind of journaling prompts. I didn't do them at the time. I was wanting to kind of read the book
Hmm.
first before speaking to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great if you made a workbook of it, just of all of
I
the.
do. I
Okay.
do have a course that I've
Oh,
created
okay.
around it. I did a live course and now we're uploading it into my course section
Oh,
that has a
wow.
workbook that goes along with it that I will put on Amazon as well. I
Mm,
do want to touch on Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich because that
mm,
has been a guiding force and it is
mm,
about thinking and growing rich and all of the mindset that goes along with it. And what I believe that I bring differently to all of the money teachers because I've been an abundance teacher probably for over 30 years. And the thing is that I used to believe change your thinking, change your life. And
mm,
what I now know, especially after going through this cancer experience, is that it's a frequency in our body. And I've also incorporated all of this feminine energy into it,
mm,
which the feminine energy is located in the body and the masculine energy is contained in your inner mind. And we need
mm,
both. It isn't
mm,
as if we just throw one out with the other. And I'm hoping actually that my book will be one of those Think and Grow Rich books that people read once a year, because as you said,
mm,
the activities in it are just, I find them astounding sometimes when I think, wow, I wrote that book. That's crazy.
mm,
But it really truly does get into those emotions and those feelings that we have all incorporated into our physical body. That emotional body is the frequency from which we operate, and you cannot think yourself out of poverty. You
mm,
can't. It is an emotional state that then resonates, that sends that electromagnetic energy out into the universe that that can't do anything but respond in kind. So
mm,
the problem with thinking, and I love Napoleon Hill's book, don't get me wrong,
mm,
because it talks about all the rich people at that time of
mm,
in that era that were, but they had a mindset, but they also had this amazing ability to know that
mm,
feeling. And so there's a difference between thinking something, which I call the affirmation trap.
mm,
When you think it and you do these affirmations and your body says, in your mind, your subconscious mind says, liar, liar, pants on fire, right? You can't think your way out of that. You have to begin to actually feel it in a way. And so people ask me, well, how do you do that? Well, everybody has feelings. You have to begin to know how to harness the good feelings that you want to experience as opposed to letting the old, stale, um, what do I want to say, consistent feelings that we've had in the past. And those all come from our money stories. So
mm,
the first chapter in the book is about our money story.
mm,
Most people don't realize that whatever's going on in their life when it comes to their relationships, their money, etc., they all come from the stories that we've created for ourselves, and then we reinforce them throughout our life because they were given to us, or we accepted them when we were small, but we reinforce them throughout our life, and then we wonder why we're not receiving the things that we say we want because we keep reinforcing those money stories. We wrote them so we
mm,
can rewrite them. But until we know what they are, it's very difficult to rewrite them because we're still operating under that same operating system. I call it this is our AI up here. I
mm,
love AI so much, but
mm,
I also know that AI is simply how I train it.
mm.
That's what
Okay.
we've done with ourselves. Our minds are little AIs that we have trained a certain way, and it doesn't want to be untrained. The way that we retrain it is through our emotional body that then gives us another opportunity to create a frequency that actually manifests. And so, we were talking about earlier the little orgasmic, the book that you wrote,
Mm,
How to Manifest Through Orgasms. I'm like, oh my God, that is so amazing. Because think about it. Exactly what I'm saying is it's that emotion, right? That's a
mm,
physical thing. That is a mental thing. It's a physical thing. And if you connect the two, as a hypnotherapist, we're always trying to get past the conscious mind to get to
mm.
the unconscious.
Absolutely.
The way you do that is to stop this AI and then
Mm.
move through it. So I'm all on board. I'm going to buy the book and I'm going to do the orgasmic manifestation because it's brilliant. That's exactly what I'm talking about. We have to get into the physical body in order to move through all of the stories.
Then we get to the inner trillionaire. the next book. Amazing. Because I love what you say about feeling. Because something that I asked a previous guest who's in a topic of money as well. I do think that these books about money, they do attract people who don't have money. So I think exactly what you're
Yeah,
saying is really important to try and get out of that trap. Because people can read, read,
yeah,
read all
right,
day, but there's no point unless there's some kind of transformation there, you know?
right. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, and that's so true because we're in a lack mindset or a
mm,
poverty mindset, and the truth of the matter is we are just living in those stories. And
mm,
so just a simple example of a story, say for instance, you grew up in a household that your parents were not wealthy and the electricity was turned off every month, and the
mm,
guy in the electric, he's in uniform, comes to the door, and I mean, I don't know that they do that anymore, but he
mm,
came to the door and he would turn it off, and then your parents would be upset and they would be fighting and your brothers and sisters would be scared, and you built this story
mm,
about money. There isn't enough, right? But instead of breaking out of it like some people can, you buy into the story and then you repeat that pattern. We've talked about people repeating their parental patterns with kids, and you can break the mold and all of that. We do that exact same thing with our money stories. So, what we want to do is begin to understand why we are stuck, why we have this thermostat that says, I can only make $300,000 a year, or $1,000,000 a year, or $20,000 a year. Everybody has a number, but they don't go beyond it. And so, it is simply your money story that
mm,
keeps you stuck in that place. And until you recognize what it is and then rewrite it from an emotional perspective, because there's in hypnosis, there's a thing called a timeline where you can go back and you can have the same experience, drop down
mm,
and say, now I'm going to see it in a different way. Because as if you're 8 years old, you don't know what else might be available. You don't know any other story. So you write the story and then you continue to perpetuate it. So it's
mm,
really important for us to realize that we've just been perpetuating stories over and over and over and over. And if we also use what's called reticular vision, which is this ability to decide what we want to see. So I use
mm,
reticular vision. Anybody that doesn't really understand it, you can look it up. But also, it's like when you see a car that you like. Mine used to be a
mm,
chocolate brown Lexus. And you're driving down the highway and you go, oh my gosh, I really love that car. And then all of a sudden, that's what you see over and over and over. They didn't release more cars. Your focus is
mm,
there. Our reticular vision is our sort and filter mechanism. So, because we have these stories that then create our reticular vision determination of what we want to sort and filter and see, we only see the story. We only see
mm,
the poverty, or we only see the struggle, or we only see the lack, or we only see whatever it is. So we have to begin to shift our focus to what we expect to see and then expect to see it. So
mm,
it's a really interesting dynamic. It isn't an affirmation that says, I am wealthy beyond measure, right? Your brain goes, liar, liar, pants on
mm,
fire. What I do is I get up in the morning and I say, okay, everything's working together for my good. What wonderful things is the universe going to surprise me with today? And sometimes it doesn't even look like what I hope for, right? Because it's a surprise. And yet, if I keep moving in that direction with that knowingness that everything is working in my favor, then I begin to see the separation of what my story was and what now I'm expecting, which is something working in my favor. And the beauty of it is that when we have this limited mind here, it doesn't have the ability to see infinite potentiality. This
mm,
is what we are lacking in our humanness until we tap into what I call consciousness, which is the infinity of the universe, that there is just amazing potentiality out there, that it can put all of these pieces together that I would have never dreamed of doing, to say, here's what life is like. This is what's available for you. And then you can receive in a different way.
I'm going to ask you some advice because of one of my my situations. I've read all these books about money, and I understand the concepts, and I don't feel any resistance to what I'm reading. But I think because I had a session with a growth coach just a couple of days ago. And I live in Barcelona, Spain, so I'm British, but I live in Spain, and I think the choice to live here was like saying money's not important; it's more important to have lifestyle. You know, it's a different kind of there's a different set of priorities here. And when I was kind of giving some numbers about what I wanted to earn to live comfortably. Said, why not more? Because I think I'm a product of environment. So the environment has a lot to do with it. And
Mhm.
what would you like to say? Because I think sometimes my inner dialogue is saying, I don't need all that. You know what I mean? Maybe,
Right.
and
And
there's a
and
block
that's a
there because
story.
yeah, and but
Right. That's a
I actually do want
story.
to have when your life now sounds amazing. I'm going to also give orgasmic talks around the world. That's my, but I'm not doing it
Right.
yet. So maybe I feel like, oh well, it's something that's not quite for now, or I'm not quite ready, or so I'm trying to kind of do a lot of things to try and embody that, like buying better clothes or just trying to upgrade. So I'm kind of starting to feel more abundant. So I'm trying to just get out of that
So
mindset of
that's
like thinking I don't need it. Have you got any advice for me?
right. So
Mhm.
so that's the story is I don't have it now.
Okay.
Okay. So we have to let that go, first of all.
Okay.
The thing is that's what's so fascinating is because we've been all of us on this
Mm,
planet, we've
mm,
been programmed by our environment, which
yeah.
is the press and the news and where we live and the people we hang out with and our parents and our teacher, all of it. There's been
Mm,
a huge influence of our environment. And so until we recognize that we are still living in our limitedness, our
mm,
finiteness, we still think that we have to do X, Y, and Z to get to wherever it is that we say we want to be
mm,
instead of embodying it. That's the difference that's the difference between thinking it and
mm,
embodying it. We have to
mm,
embody what that feels like right now, today,
mm,
in this moment, not
mm,
tomorrow, not 2 hours from now, not next week. So that being said, one of the things, I think I did it in the book, but I might have done it on the course. I call them mini experiences. And so
mm,
similar to what you just said, dressing a certain way and all of that. But it isn't about the outside creation of it. When I talk
mm,
about a mini experience, it's about the feeling that you want to have. So cars are a big thing for people, which frankly, they're not for me, but it is a thing. And that if you wanted a car, you would go and test drive a particular car, but not because of the physicalness of it. It is an experience, but the feeling
mm,
and being in that moment of driving that car. So for you to travel around the world teaching this orgasmic experience is about what that feels like in this moment. One of the things I talk about in the book is called future journaling.
mm,
I started doing this, gosh, 20 plus years ago, where we're actually talking about what we're experiencing in this moment in a future experience. So, for instance, I use the telephone now just because
mm,
people don't look at you strangely.
mm,
So, I can just be walking down the street like I'm talking to a friend. Oh my gosh, you cannot believe what happened. I was just on stage in front of 50,000 women, men, women, whatever it is for you. And the applause, I can still feel it resonating in my body right now. And that experience was one of the most incredible orgasmic experiences that I've ever had in my entire life. Now, do you see what I'm doing? I'm doing that as if it's happening right now. I'm as
mm,
if I'm talking to a friend and I can feel the goosebumps in my body about your experience and I'm not having it because
mm,
it's not my dream, but the fact is that I can be so in that moment,
mm,
and that is the difference between what we're teaching people to vision forward instead of experience and embody now.
mm,
And because I'm a hypnotherapist as well, your mind doesn't know the difference between what you're telling it and what supposed reality is because we live in a multidimensional universe. You're experiencing it right now. The more you embody that electromagnetic frequency that I was just sharing with you, the more it just conspires. It's like imagine, I don't know. I was
mm.
watching Bewitched this week because there's nothing else
I love
on.
it.
The 1964 version in black and white, right? But it's like it's just spinning up this vortex, the
Mm,
universe, because it's coming to uh, exemplify for you in what we call reality that feeling.
mm,
So that's what we're all looking for. We're not looking for what we say these experiences are. whether it be traveling or having $1 million in the bank or a car or traveling. It's what that feeling is that
Mm.
you say you want to experience. That's
Yeah.
why feelings are such an essential ingredient to this whole experience. If we begin to know that we have the innate power to embody emotions right here, right now, I don't have to have anybody give me permission to have an emotional experience.
Mm.
It's something that I create within me. And that is the power. That literally is the magic that
Mm.
creates the outward experience. And then, because you know the feeling, when you have the experience, when the actual experience occurs, you're going to go, holy cow, this is way better than I even imagined it would be, because we've let go of the control of how I call micromanaging the universe. I need it to look exactly like this.
Mm.
No, I want the feeling. And
Mm.
if I experience the feeling, the outward experience is going to be off the chart. You won't even imagine it because you can't.
Mm.
So
I,
that's
I'm going to
the
work
best
on
thing
that.
is embody it now. Embody it now.
I've actually come up with a framework of what I want to experience in life throughout, which is ACE, aliveness, comfort, and expansion. And that applies to everything. So now with my orgasmic
Yeah.
practice, I'm just embodying aliveness, which is that orgasmic like
Yes.
feeling of, and that can be from travel, it can be from so many things, from
Yes.
love, getting a new contract, even getting like booking someone like you. It's like, yeah, it's so cool. And then the
Yes.
comfort is like safety, that groundedness, and then expansion is always about growth. That something's making me grow and making
Mm-hmm.
my mind. Also, I've got a little pot of money here with citrine. I heard you. I read that you are, a crystal lover as well. So I'm
Yes.
going to use this for my money date. That's something that I read in your book, which is I've not read anywhere
Yes.
else. So I'm going to have a candlelit
Yeah.
dinner with this pot of money
Yes.
later.
Yeah. I love the idea of a money date so much
Uh-huh.
because we are in a relationship, one of the most important relationships in our lives, called money. It's with money, but money is just a symbol, right?
Mm,
Because money in true consciousness is just energy. It
mm,
is a symbol of our belief in our own value. So when I talk about having a money date, it's about really understanding that in order to have a good relationship in our lives, romantically or with a friend or with money, we have to begin to experience it like we would with a good relationship. I use an example of somebody that we meet somebody and they're texting us constantly, right? I've had one date and how are you doing? What's going on? You haven't texted me back, right? Needy, 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 needy. Imagine there are so many people out there because they're in this lack mentality, this poverty mindset, that they are acting that way with money.
mm,
That repels a person in
mm,
human terms. It's really easy to look at it from that perspective when we begin to understand how money works, how money likes to be treated, how that energy reflects our value of how we see ourselves, our true value, the way that we see ourselves. Then we begin to have a relationship where this thing called money, which is just energy, it's quantum energy, wants to spend more time with us, but we have this innate ability to repel it because we don't understand that we are actually in a relationship. We're co-creating with consciousness, with our partnership with money, even though money is a symbol. It's just
mm,
paper or digits on a screen. It's energy, and it is
mm,
a direct reflection of our own value and worth.
mm,
So when we say that, then people are like, well, what is she talking about? I love myself. Okay, maybe
mm,
not. Not in the way that you believe that you do. So even having a simple money date is a practice to begin to say, this thing called money is a sacredness in my life. It doesn't mean that I'm worshiping it. It means that I have a sacred relationship with this value that I place on myself that supports me, because that's all it is. It's an energetic support that reflects that value and worth that I have of my internal self.
mm.
So, yay, have a money date.
Yeah, I think I will.
With the citrine. Yes.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I have money little pots all over the place because they just remind me that it is an infinite flow. It
Yeah.
really is an infinite flow. It's a circulation. And that's what I talk about in the book. it's a circulation of receiving and giving.
Mm.
And if we're in that place where we're giving with a closed palm, because people say, I give, I give, I give, but you're giving with a closed palm. You're not able to receive. And in either case, if you're giving with a closed palm or you're receiving with a closed palm, you're breaking the chain. You're like crimping a hose. So you
Mm.
don't let that circulation flow. When you open up to the entire circulatory system, which is, energy, then it just comes and it goes. It comes and it goes. It comes and it goes. It isn't about holding on to it. It's about letting it flow in and out and in and out. And it's a beautiful experience when you get into that flow.
Because some people, like say, have like say humble lives and then they make it. But in your story, you were able to generate cash quite easily, but then you spent it quite
Mm,
quickly. Is there any kind of
yeah.
3 tips that you would give your someone in that situation who's just to kind of hold on to the money in a better way, or any kind of tip? I know obviously you had to have your growth journey in the way it's happened, but is there any practical advice you would give to someone after they attract money?
I think, honestly, one of the things that's important to recognize is that sometimes you can overgive, but also I had interruptions for various reasons that the money went out. And at the same time, I'm really beginning to reflect in a different way on this idea of retirement
Mm.
because I grew up being taught for generations that you need to save all of this money
Mm-hmm.
in order to have a nest egg to move forward
Mm-hmm.
instead and stop working and sit on a porch and be in a rocker. And I'm now at I turned 70 a couple of months ago and I have a different philosophy on that now,
Mm-hmm.
that we can create wealth continuously until we die if that's our choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to say hold on to it like that. What I
Mm-hmm.
want to say is that if it is a pattern, that it's about understanding what the money story is that's creating the pattern and then shifting that pattern also into something that's cohesive to that methodology. Because sometimes people don't have to hold on to their money if they feel in that flow. And that's part
Mm-hmm.
of where I am now, is that I'm in that flow. So it keeps coming and it goes and it comes and it goes. It isn't about just constantly going out, because that's part of the money story that I had, was that I couldn't hold on to it. When the reality is now I have shifted that story into it's a flow, it comes and it goes. And I was clutching onto the fear of too much of it going out when the reality was it's going to go out. It's like the ocean. The tide's going to go out and the tide's going to come in. The tide's going to go out and the tide's going to come in. So it sometimes is just taking whatever your difficulty is with your money story and seeing how that has supported you, but how you can create it so that it actually is working for you and you let go of the fear, because that's really what that was in my money story, was just a fear of too much of it leaving.
Mm. Yeah, I'm actually going to go through your book again and do all the journaling prompts. I think because a lot you can uncover just from writing about your
Yeah.
own
Yeah.
experiences. Yeah. And I love you have a really good way with words as well. Something I loved about you talked about vision boards, about their being, becoming, and beyond. I love
Mhm.
that. Bec-
I
Mm,
love that new idea of vision boarding because
mm,
I've been in the sort of
n-
new thought
yeah.
metaphysical realm for so long, right? And so I've done all the affirmations and manifested parking spaces, and
Mm,
I call it baby metaphysics. And the vision board and visioning
mm,
are very much masculine energies. There's nothing
mm,
wrong with any of these energies, but they're very masculine. They're more or less saying, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to create, and by God, we're going to do it. Right?
mm,
That's very masculine. That's let me make that happen. And in the feminine energy, it's about the allowing. It's
mm,
about listening to your inner wisdom, your intuition, and allowing that to unfold. So in a vision board, it's just the same thing as affirmations and visioning and saying, I want it this way. And for me, that's micromanaging the universe instead of creating that vision board around the way that I want to feel. Just like I
mm,
was sharing with you, it's about what do I embody right now? How do I want to feel in this world? Because really, truly, if you break everything down, and for some reason, Christopher Reeves is like, he's my guru, which he doesn't even know it. I never met the man in my life,
Mhm.
but I've had days that were not fun because of what they did to my body. And some days I'll sit, in the bathroom going, I don't like this life. It's not fun. And I think that person, Christopher Reeves, had a spinal injury from the neck down. Like, he could not do anything without help, without somebody supporting him, but he managed to be happy, joyous, and free in a life of a body that was completely obliterated. And I know that that was feelings that he was generating inside of himself. We can all do that. We all have the ability to feel the way that we want to feel. All of
Mm,
us. Even in my darkest moments, I knew that. And yet sometimes you just get swallowed up by your negative emotions.
mm.
So having a vision board of how I want to feel is sort of like, there was this thing going around on TikTok, I don't know, probably last year, about a dopamine menu. It's the
Okay.
dopamine. The dopamine is what's creating that excitement. The dopamine is released in the brain, but it comes from the feelings. So if we begin to understand that we create our own dopamine through our feelings, that we can create the feelings of whatever we want in our life, no matter the circumstances that are out there. So that's the problem, is most of us have bought into a story that we are victims to our circumstances, when the
Mm.
reality is that we are in charge of our feelings regardless of our circumstances. So if we get into that knowingness, then we begin to feel this feeling of life that is so much different. And that's why having a vision board of how I want to feel in my experiences is so much more dynamic. And I have seen some beautiful vision boards come out of that. It's just really, truly magical because it's a different way of showing up in the world.
Amazing, amazing. Something that really intrigued me about your book was so it was before so were you kind of always into the spirituality aspect of things before the sickness? Was that always
Oh,
a
yeah.
part of your life?
Oh,
What
yeah.
was your spiritual
Yeah.
awakening like?
Oh, gosh. I remember when I was 16 years old, and
Mm,
I was raised in a Christian household,
mm,
and I went to this program called Youth for Christ, and
mm.
they took us to a camping experience out in the desert with covered wagons, and I was molested by the camp counselor.
Oh wow.
And I thought, no, I'm 16. I didn't really know what was going on, to be honest with you.
Mm,
And subsequently, I started thinking, now this is really interesting. The concept of um, Jesus so loved the world, he sent his only begotten son. And if you never heard of it, that you were going to hell. I don't know. That just didn't coincide with what my beliefs were. So I started literally at 18 years old, because as soon as I got out of the house, on this spiritual journey of finding every religion on the planet and finding the golden thread that wove through everything. And what I discovered was that it's just everything is one. I mean, that
mm,
literally is, that is the energy, and that is what consciousness is, and that we are all exactly part of the whole. And
mm.
so when I'm looking in somebody's eyes, now this doesn't mean I do this perfectly. Please don't misunderstand this, but the fact of the matter is, this is my core belief, even though somebody can really irritate me. But when I'm looking in somebody else's eyes, my favorite word is namaste. The God in
Mm,
me recognizes the God in you. That really truly is the essence of all spirituality for me. I don't care
mm.
what religion we're calling it. So when I was probably in my 20s, people would ask me, what religion are you? And I go, I'm the Debbie Dobbins religion. Because honest to goodness, I really believe that all religious teachings have that golden thread, which is love everybody as yourself, that we are all one, and that everything, as I said, is working in our favor. So that is my philosophy. There are so many nuances to it, but at the end of the day, that has been my overriding knowingness for as long as I can remember. And it also has taken me on all these other paths that I would often think, when I'm in the middle of drug addiction, I'm thinking, why is this happening? Right? This doesn't seem like this should be part of my journey, and it was. And even during those dark, 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 dark times, I always knew that there was, either a rainbow or a light at the end of the tunnel. I wasn't sure which, but it was, I held on to that belief.
It's really
So,
interesting in your book
yes,
because you
I've been
mentioned
that
that
way.
you weren't going to mention it in a certain, I think it was a speaking event. And then when you did, it really kind of, even though it's something that could be maybe hidden for some people, it's actually become a very positive attribute for you
Hmm.
because it makes you relatable. It makes you kind of, people see the transformation and you understand
Yeah.
those challenges. And what's really interesting about addiction as well is how it relates to manifestation, because I mean, like
Hmm.
I used to smoke marijuana every day, and I've had times when I had to eat once a day. I came to Barcelona on a night train with 400 euros. I mean, I've had rat infestations and had to buy poison before food. I've been, really in situations of dire, but I always had a spliff every night, And I was thinking, it's incredible, like that energy of always being able to find, that escape
Yeah,
before
yeah,
sleep. Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I've often thought of it like that. I could manifest the craziest things. But, that also, once again, goes back to that energy that we
Mm,
create, that it wasn't a mindset thing. It was
mm.
a powerful physical, I want this,
Yeah.
right? And
I
it would
have to
drive
have
me
it
to create, I would create things in a way that today I go, if I could just bring that power in right
into
now.
something else, something a bit more
Exactly.
sustainable and healthy.
Something
Yeah.
else. Yeah.
The other
It's
thing that
very
intrigued me
funny.
about your book as well is you mentioned that you were giving, certain times when you were giving prosperity classes when you were having your own personal struggles, and maybe you felt like this is a bit ironic. And it makes me think about, there's lots of, in this world now where there's lots of influencers and coaches online.
Oh,
And then I mean, also here in Barcelona, there's lots of life coaches who are 28, and you're like, what can you teach me about
what
life?
can you tell me?
But I just think, I mean, Sadhguru is one I look at. He was at the beginning of my spiritual awakening. I was watching a lot of his content, and he said to me, he had a video about who should you listen to. Said, watch that person. If it's working for them, listen. If it's not, don't. So how important? How can we find a good coach? I mean, who's embodying the message? How important is it to embody the message, or is it just enough just to kind of know the lesson? I mean, what do you think about that?
Wow, that's a really good question, and I don't think anyone has asked me that, although I've had many times where I've thought about it, because there are so many influencers out there.
Mm,
And I have to say, for my own personal journey, I have all the social media channels,
mm,
and I'm just me, like I'm
mm,
just authentic. And I think that's the biggest thing today that people are looking for,
mm,
is that authenticness.
mm,
And yet there is this, they get enamored with the influencer lifestyle. And I
mm,
think that that's where to separate that out. So, because there's still this programming that if I have all these things, I love it when you have an influencer that's just standing, I actually found an AI video thing that I could put myself next to a jet just for the fun of it. But it's not as if I would ever portray my lifestyle is such that I have all these things, because that
mm,
isn't what I've ever taught. I've
mm,
never taught about having things. It's always really about what I feel like. I lived in Mexico last year, and it wasn't about the fact that I could live in another country. It was the feeling that I had about walking on the beach every day. And it could have been in the United States, it could have been in Mexico. But the fact is that there's so many people out there that are enamored by the influence of stuff.
mm,
And that's, even though the book is called Your Inner Billionaire, I don't know many people that want to be a billionaire. What I'm telling people is that you have that internal guidance system. If that's truly what your heart would say, that would make you feel the way you want to feel. But in the meantime, how do you want to feel about your life? And so when I'm looking at people that I follow, typically they're not charging a lot of money. So
mm,
that's the first thing that I say, is if somebody's asking you to sign up for a 10,000 or $120,000 package for something, that's a red flag. Go the other way. Dip your toe into the water with them,
mm,
follow them, but also how authentic are they being? What is it about their lifestyle besides the stuff? How are they feeling? How are they speaking to your heart? How are they reflecting about love all the time? Are they angry? Are they coming across as this, dictator mindset, like you've got to do it this way? Because there isn't one way to do this life. That's the
mm,
beauty of it. There isn't one way to do this life. There is one process that will get you the places you want to be, and that is feeling the way you want to feel. But it's really being this authentic human on the planet, and that is becoming more and more prevalent as we go through the last, I don't know, decade or so, is that authenticity of what people really truly want. And if you feel like that person, and I would interview a coach just like anybody else, whether it's a real estate agent, an attorney, an accountant, really understand what is their philosophy of life. What are they wanting to teach you? This is the best way to achieve your dreams. Because if that is just to get more stuff, it's probably not going to be, they may or may not have it, to be honest with you. But influencers being authentic and genuinely coming from that heart space, that's the thing that I'm always looking for.
Yeah, because there's been someone I'm not going to mention who's had a fall from grace in the last few days. Someone who's in the kind of love space, and they were preaching all these things, and then they've just been outed by so many people for not living their message. And then another thing that people, and also for having fake credentials, that's another thing that people look at, depending on what you're teaching as well. That's something that I've always wondered for myself. Should I get qualified in something? But then I think if you're going to spiritual stuff like the O method, I don't think you really need it.
No, I
Just
think
create
that's,
it.
and
Yeah.
that's another thing that I've noticed in, because I've spent a lot of time in um, uh, teaching rooms, right? For all kinds of spirituality, speaking, sales, everything. I mean, I've been on everything, and I've taught in a lot of those rooms. And the fact is that when I look for somebody, I'm never looking at their credentials.
Okay.
I'm never. Because the fact is that, but in those kind of rooms where they're going to sell you a $10,000, $120,000 package, they want a lot of, I've been in a lot of coaching programs too. The certifications, a lot of people will get stuck. And this is part of understanding that your energy, whatever that happens to be, whatever it is that you're teaching, as long as you feel that energy, that you don't need a piece of paper to tell you that. Now, there's certain licensed professions, real estate, doctors, lawyers, that sort of thing. You want to have them have credentials, obviously. But the fact is that we spend a lot of time being stuck and getting ready to do whatever it is, and we don't have what we perceive the education is to do something, or we don't have the certifications. I am not a big fan of waiting to be present and to share your life. And especially in something that you're doing, you have the background, you have the experience that is the authentic template for what it is that you're doing. Nobody can give you a piece of paper that can say that you do this better than anybody else. That is simply because you have this life experience, you've lived it. And that is, to me, so much more important than anything that a piece of paper can say, because I've been in many, many professions that are licensed, and it just means that you passed a test, literally. You passed a test, you have a piece of paper that says, here, even a doctor or a lawyer, they can all have a piece of paper, but you're still looking at who did they represent? How did they do it? What are the testimonials that people have talked about them? And literally, if you tap into your intuition, you will always make the right decision, always. And so for me, just like with somebody like you, I would hire you because I can feel your energy. That's the biggest thing for me, is energy that we all have. And I don't know who the love person is. I don't follow influencers because they don't have anything that I want, to be honest with you. I want to be the most authentic Debbie Dobbins that ever walked the planet. And that's why I get from you, from just the first moment that we spoke. I was like, oh my God, she's just like this ray of sunshine.
Oh,
You're
thank you.
just beaming with this joy. And that's so, you can't hide that. That to me is more important than any piece of paper will ever be.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I have to hire you. Well, so tell us how do you work and what you're doing now? What's your life like now? What are your projects?
Oh my gosh. I have too many fingers in the fire. So
Can I
I'm
ask you what your
investing
star? I'm
right
just curious. What's your star sign?
Gemini.
Oh, I'm a Gemini.
Oh well, yeah.
I just thought all these different interests.
Well, and I'm in the human design, I'm a manifestor generator.
Me too,
So it
me
just means
too.
I have to be doing, yeah, I'm just have to do something all the time. So I can't be just one thing. So I wrote the
Okay.
book and I
Yeah,
was living in
creative
Mexico
energy. It's
last
that creative
year.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I have
Communication. Yeah.
flips. Yeah.
Mm,
And I love to speak. So I'm
mm,
going on a speaking tour for the book. And
mm,
just, I've got this beautiful opportunity to create. I had that I wrote the book, it was published, and then I did the course. So I'm putting that up so that people can experience a live course on the book, because it just takes it to another level. And then I just finished another book called Rooted in Wealth. It talks about investing, but see, we've all been taught investing is stock market or real
mm.
estate or crypto, and it sort of misses the point again of investing in ourselves. How are
Okay.
we investing in ourselves on a regular basis every single day? How do I get up and invest in me? And it doesn't have to be a financial investment. It's just how are we elevating ourselves, especially as women, to be the most authentic person that we can be? Who are we, literally?
Mm,
Because most women, especially that I've met, men too, they don't know who they are.
mm,
They've been told who they should be, and then they perpetuate that. And then about 40 or 50, they go, is this all there is? What am I? Who am I? So
mm,
really just understanding who we are,
mm.
why we decided to, you know, conjure up these human bodies on this planet. Because I just literally, I was in Nashville,
Mhm.
and I went to the planetarium, which I thought, that's weird. I could do that anywhere, but I just decided to do it there. And it was just this experience of being in a planetarium where they show you the stars and the universe, and then it took you out to space in this planetarium, looking at, we are so tiny. We,
Mm,
even as a planet, right? There's bigger planets in our solar system. We think that we are the end all be all. And I think
mm,
it's really important to just not not to diminish ourselves, but to recognize that we are so small and insignificant in the bigger scheme of things, and we are one with the bigger thing. So it's just so important to really look at who we are and say, what is my purpose here? Because every single person, I believe, is part of this big puzzle that we have called planet Earth, and we are here to contribute our piece. What is our piece? And when we're not contributing our piece, then we aren't contributing to the peace of the overall planet, literally.
mm.
And that just came out. I
Love
didn't even
it.
know that was coming out of my mouth, but that's really true. When we don't contribute our piece, we're not contributing to the overall piece. And so just to know that, who am I? Who am I
Mm.
is really a big question for everyone to ask themselves today.
So I think for Geminis, I don't know if this is your experience, but it's like having all these different ideas, and then maybe not executing everything. Do you have any productivity tips to kind of focus on one thing at a time, or do you have any secrets you can share? 'Cause that's one of my. I'm doing the Pomodoro and just trying to do all in on one thing on a certain day,
Yeah. Yeah.
to try
Yeah.
and not be all over, not to
So
too much
yeah,
like,
so I just wrote another book.
wow.
It's not out yet. It's called Time Bender.
Okay.
Because one of the things that I think, and especially as a Gemini, as you just said, it's just there's so much going on,
We want
and
to do
my
so many
brain would
things.
want to explode, right?
Yeah.
And so I am of the school of the workaholism,
Mm,
right? So I've got addiction in multiple levels, and that, to me, being a workaholic, I had programmed myself, and my story was that this is my idea of success. If I can just be busy all of the time, that's my idea of success, and that's a lie, and that happens to be a lot of people's lies. And to really understand that we have the ability, just like we have the ability to receive an infinite amount of everything, we also have the ability to bend time. So that if we begin to release the attachment to these things have to happen in these amount of incremental time frames, then we begin to bend it. So every bit of time is bent in my favor. And so just letting myself know that, number one. But number two, as you said, we do this thing. Oh my gosh, the word's gonna escape me right now. But this multitasking thing.
Mm,
This is another lie. So our brains, I've known this for years, but now I've really gone into understanding it even better. We cannot focus on two things at the same time.
mm,
Our brain doesn't have that ability. It's a finite instrument. So when we multitask, is what we call multitask, we're actually having to stop what we're doing, even though it may be seem like a split second, to focus on something else. And we not only are putting amazing stress on ourselves and our bodies and our minds, but we're not being efficient. So time blocking is a great thing, or putting things into blocks where I'm going to do, if I've got social media, do all your recording on one day and do all your editing on another or something like that. But you can do that with your life in general. So it really is, especially in that book, I talk about our energetic uh, um, flows. So we have different rhythms, especially as women. We have rhythms, especially if you're still in before menopause. Your body's going through a cycle, right? Every
mm,
28 days, it's going through a cycle. And it says, this is how I'm this way. This is how I'm on this day. This is how I'm on this day. And when we don't give it the honor and the sacredness to say on those days, because you have to realize it's your body and you know it, if you don't give yourself the sacredness to be in the rhythm of that moment, you are doing a disservice to yourself and to those people around you. And so we've learned as women, especially in the masculine playbook of go, 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 right? You work through it no matter what. We are really dishonoring ourselves. So there's a whole, I'll have to share that book with you when
oh yeah,
because it's
yeah.
coming out probably next month. But it's beautiful because it's so important for us to recognize time not as a linear thing, but as a flowing thing, and that we plug ourselves into it through our own rhythms and flow. And that is the biggest secret, I think, that
Mm,
this book will talk about, is that it's so important for us to stop being machines.
mm. Do you like
And yes, as a Gemini, I have all these ideas, but I also know if I incorporate those in that feeling structure, do that vision board through feeling, then all of them start to generate and manifest without me having to get in and monkey up the works, because I don't
mm,
have to be the doer.
mm,
I'm just the beer. See, that's
mm,
the difference that I've learned through all these, years of being on the planet. Your beingness is more powerful than your doingness, because doingness is finite, beingness is infinite.
mm. Are you a fan of Florence Scovel Shinn? You know, her
Yeah, I love
affirmations.
her.
Because she's
Yeah.
got an affirmation that I love. It says, never do today what intuition says for do tomorrow, or something like that. This is the opposite of what we're
Yes.
taught, and don't put off today what you could, but don't put off to tomorrow we can do today. I can't remember what the original one is, but she's the opposite. It's like intuition. And I have that kind of that luxury as well, because some days if I don't want to wear makeup, those days I'm the writer. If I wear makeup, then I'm making
Yeah.
videos. I can kind of like
Yeah.
play around
Yep.
with, do I want to be seen or not? So I kind of like
Yes.
honor the biorhythms there. It's not every day. You don't
But
want
we
to.
have to
Yeah,
listen. We have to
yeah.
listen to that.
Mm,
That's the problem is we have stopped listening to
mm,
our internal guidance systems. We have
mm,
stopped listening. And if you
mm,
stop listening, then you just go back into default programming, which is do, struggle, push, grind, and go forward. And that is not a recipe for this beautiful life that we call living on planet Earth. It's just not.
mm. Cool. A couple of quick questions I ask all of my guests. Actually, I'm really curious about what your answers are to this. What is the book that changed your life?
So many. I think actually I don't even know where it is. It's a book called The 40 Days of Abundance by John Randolph Price.
Oh.
It's a little teeny tiny book that I actually used in my course, but it's 40 days of just writing and reflecting on that. My source is not anything that I believe my source is. My source is just this consciousness, this universe, and to really tap into that is so important. I've done that. It's called the 40 Days of Abundance, and I've done it so many times because it really is just 40 days of consistently focusing on that my source is not me. My source is not outside of me. My source is this consciousness that I live within. And so that's probably my favorite little book.
Is it
that's
something
done so much.
you revisit often, or is it something you
Oh,
do?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I actually kind of did. It's very, it's very religious almost.
Uh-huh.
It isn't religious, but it's written probably in the 20s or 30s. And so
Mm.
just like Think and Grow Rich, it's a
Yeah.
little bit of uh, languaging that's kind of hard for some people to grasp.
Yeah.
So I've taken it and redone it a little more updated. So I've created
Oh,
my own, which is on somewhere on my website.
but I
So
love
you
that
can
era
check it
because
out.
I love the science of getting rich and Florence Scovel Shinn. It's all very similar. New Thought languaging. I
Hmm.
quite like it. It does have a lot of God in it as well. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, I
cool.
mean, it's just that word. When we name
Mm,
something, we actually disempower it. So when we
mm,
say God, we say universe, and we say, Yahweh or Muhammad, it's all of that takes away from the actual infinites of
mm,
all of it. And so, but it's all the same. It's all the
mm,
oneness. If we were to
mm,
just say, I'm amalgamating this thing called planet Earth into one thing, because we're all made out of the same stardust. That's
mm,
what's so beautiful. We're
mm.
all made out of the same stardust. We all, breathe the same. Our hearts pump the same. We put our pants on one leg at a time, as you will. But the fact is that we are all here, and we all have so much similar desires in life. We want to be loved. We want to be happy. We want to
Mm.
feel safe. All of those things are commonality. And so when we begin to notice our commonality as opposed to our differences, that's when we can come together and connect.
Amazing. And then the question I ask everyone is, what is the phrase or affirmation that you live by, or quote that you live by?
Right now, it's everything is working in my favor.
Okay, I love it. Love it.
I wake
Amazing.
I wake up every day. I made a little 5-minute meditation called "Everything is Working in My Favor," and it's just I did it for other people, but I listened to it myself. It's got binaural beats on it, so it
Uh,
really takes you deep in that meditation, and it just sets that tone for the day. Everything is working in my favor, and if we walk around with that belief, it's
mm,
amazing
mm.
how things can shift in our perception of things that might be happening that we don't necessarily agree with.
Amazing. So where can people find you?
TheDebbieDobbins.com. It's
Uh-huh.
just a lovely little website. You can get my book for free,
Uh-huh.
paper shipping, but you get the book for free on my website, and a couple of other things, some mantras and some prayers and some fun things, because at the end of the day, my whole goal is to get people to understand that they are already prosperous, that they don't have to do anything. They just have to become that energetic force.
I love it. A great message. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Orgasmic Lifestyle podcast.
Yay!
It's been amazing.
This is lovely.
The book I'm reading now is How Do You Like It? A Guide for Getting What You Want in Bed by Dr. Tara. And Dr. Tara is a future podcast guest, and she's also a past podcast guest. We had her on in 2023, and it was so interesting speaking to her. At the time, she was dubbed the sexpert of TikTok, and now she is the internet's resident sexpert. And what's fantastic is that since we spoke to her a few years ago, she has grown so much, and she's now working on Celebs Go Dating in the UK. So I often see her in the mainstream press in the UK, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, she's been on my podcast, and she's coming back. And I started reading this book just today, actually, and it's really absorbed me. I devoured it so quickly. It's very, very easy to read. And for someone like myself who's read a lot of books on sex, I'm always looking for something new, because I think this book is really accessible for someone who is experienced and who knows themselves quite well, and also for someone who's getting to know themselves. I think the journey of sexual discovery is never ending. So it's a really nice way to explore your own sexuality. And there is a sexual profile quiz, because self-discovery is a really interesting thing, especially when you are in a relationship, to kind of have these conversations about what you like and also how to ask for what you like in bed. It's really important to be able to have these conversations with your partner, and tools such as sexual profile quizzes can help you to get to know yourself and also your partner. And then you can maybe discuss where what's compatible, what's working, where you would like to go, etc. So you can kind of maximize the fulfillment of your intimate connection. And she has a bit of storytelling in this as well. The book starts off with her having an orgasm at 8 a.m. and then going to the gym and going to see her publicist and then seeing her husband and working. It all sounds very like the perfect life. But then she goes back in a rewind about how it wasn't always like that and how she's come to this place quite literally. And it's a very interesting read, and I cannot wait to connect with her again. She's very popular on Instagram and TikTok. Her handle is Lovebites, LUVBITES, and she has kind of quite funny short clips with just very kind of bite-sized, literally love bites, size kind of tips on sexuality, which are, in just within a minute you can learn something new and get some tips to share with your partner or something to ask yourself. And something I really enjoyed when we spoke actually a few years ago, I remember I asked her, what's the quote that you live by? And she said, focus on what's thriving. And I kind of kept that in my mind. And also at the time she was doing, I think 3 different things. She's a university professor. She's doing social media. And also she's a sex and relationship coach. And she was saying that she kind of divided up her week according to the tasks. So a couple of days focused on one task and a couple of days on another. And then Friday, I think it was social media. And I've actually been really inspired by that myself in my own journey. So right now I'm doing Monday, Thursday, paid content, Tuesday, digital products affiliate content, Wednesday, business development, Friday, podcast. So yeah, she's really, really inspired me. So I cannot wait for our next conversation to hear about her growth since our last interview. And of course, I cannot wait to read the rest of this book. So if you are sexually curious, I would highly recommend this book. It's very new as well. It's very easy to read. So that is How Do You Like It? A Guide for Getting What You Want in Bed by Dr. Tara, a future podcast guest. Now it's time for this episode's meditation. Please don't listen to this while driving or operating machinery. Instead, take a break from whatever you're doing, get comfortable, take a deep breath, and enjoy. I embody the mindset of a billionaire. I attract wealth by being who I am. I think on a global scale. My ideas create massive impact. I trust myself to handle limitless success with wisdom and grace. My presence inspires prosperity in others. I am the architect of limitless abundance. I embody the mindset of a billionaire. I attract wealth by being who I am. I think big. I create legacies. My wealth supports freedom, creativity, and positive change. I am destined for extraordinary success. I am the architect of limitless abundance. I embody the mindset of a billionaire. I attract wealth by being who I am. I am a visionary. My thoughts become empires. I move through the world with billionaire confidence and humility. My ideas are worth billions, and I act like it. I am the architect of limitless abundance. I embody the mindset of a billionaire. I attract wealth by being who I am. I attract wealth because I create extraordinary value. Every challenge I face expands my capacity for abundance. I am always in the right place at the right time with the right people. Money flows to me in rivers of ease and purpose. I am the architect of limitless abundance. I embody the mindset of a billionaire. I attract wealth by being who I am. I make bold decisions with clarity and calm confidence. I am a magnet for high-level collaborations. I attract powerful connections. My wealth multiplies because I align it with service and innovation. I am the architect of limitless abundance. If If you enjoy the affirmations and meditations I share here, you will love the longer versions I've created on Insight Timer, the world's #1 meditation app, available in the App Store and on Google Play. Every Friday, I release a brand new guided practice on topics like love, health, wealth, motivation, abundance, and many more things, all designed to help you relax, recharge, and realign. Just search for Venus O'Hara on Insight Timer or follow the link in the show notes. To find out more about me and my orgasmic lifestyle, visit venusohara.org or follow me on Instagram. The Orgasmic Lifestyle is also on Substack and YouTube, where you can watch all the interviews with our experts. All the links are in the show notes below. Make sure to search for the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast by Venus O'Hara in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere podcasts are found. And click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for listening, have an orgasmic week, and make sure every day is a climax.